Welcome to Zero Love, the podcast that keeps it raw, real, and more importantly, unfiltered. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just bold, unapologetic conversations that cut through the noise of the sports world. Brought to you by Intense Tennis. This is where sports meets honesty like never before, and we dive deep into what really matters. Right now, the tennis world is on fire with Reilly Opelka's comments that doubles is filled with failed singles players and how they should get rid of it. Doubles has been a long-standing part of tennis, with most recreational players playing more doubles than singles. So these comments triggered a lot of people, including professional doubles players themselves, who felt that their careers, work ethic, and world-class skill sets were being attacked. So to unpack all of this, we brought on a special guest. The man himself, Reilly Opelka. That's right. Instead of guessing what someone thinks, we went straight to the source. So without further ado, I'm JY Aubone, and let's get into Zero Love. You've made some very interesting comments that we think deserve a lot more time to explore, some time to digest, because a lot of these concepts about doubles, not needing to exist, not providing a lot of value to the overall tour. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but your comments were basically that doubles shouldn't exist because it's for failed singles players and it's not bringing enough revenue to the sport. It's actually taking from the sport. And those are pretty strong comments.
It shouldn't exist as is.
Shouldn't exist as is. So what do you mean by that?
Well, the math supports my claim that, I'm sorry if it came off harsh, but sometimes the truth can be harsh, and doubles does not generate nearly as much revenue as it costs to have.
Well, and I think before we go too deep into this, I think it's, for the listeners, it's very important. We'll acknowledge this up front. So me and you worked together for years. So we have a long-standing relationship. We've known each other for over a decade. But I'm taking the other side of this argument. So for anyone listening, everything I'm going to push back on with Reilly, even though we have a very close relationship, he doesn't know anything I'm going to tell him. All the questions I have, the statements, he doesn't know. So we're just going to go right at it. I didn't play any favoritism here. So wanted to put that disclosure out up front so people can make their own judgment. So,
of course, but obviously, where like you said, we've traveled together for 10 years. We've been on tour together for like 5-6 years.
I know where you stand.
This isn't the first time I've said this.
No, this isn't the first time, but I would say this is the first time we're really going to go back and forth in this because
you're going to play some devil's advocate.
Yeah, and also I had a better doubles career than singles career. I lost money in both, but there was, why did I play more doubles? Because I saw that I had a better chance of trying to pursue that. Ultimately did not. I had a better doubles ranking than singles. But I think I was in the shoes of a lot of people that felt that, all right, can't make it in singles, can't make any money, so I'm going to go try play doubles. And they feel that they're having the opportunity to be more successful and have a shot at making some money. So there is a part of me that did enjoy, having something that I could be successful with in doubles. But you come back and where you started the conversation was with the math. So what's the math that you're talking about that doesn't support doubles as is?
Well, for starters, if you look at what's your definition of, so to support my comment of what, doubles players are failed singles players. What's your definition, JY, of a failed business? It's a vague question, but what's a quick answer towards that question? What's an example, or what's a failed business?
A failed business is when your costs are more than your revenue and you can't pay your bills anymore. So you have to shut down business.
Correct. You can't maintain your operation. Your lack of cash flow, let's call it.
Right.
At what number in terms of tennis, okay, if you look at it, each individual as a business, what ranking point, you've been on tour, you've played, what number is it do you need to be profitable, to be able to have a sustaining business where, like, I'm not even talking have an apartment back home and a car. I'm talking just to sustain your tennis and living on the road and let's say even not having an apartment or a place to call home.
Yeah, I mean, I know the ATP, and I speak to the ATP because I don't know the WTA side, so I'll put that out there.
Yep.
Would be nice to kind of get into that one day, but I think on the ATP side, I think it was around, they'd moved it up from somewhere like mid 300s to like something 200s. So
Okay.
I'd probably say outside of top 200. So top 200 are able to cover expenses and maybe put something in their bank account.
Fair. Yeah, I would agree. So it is what it is. I mean, if you don't crack the top 200 eventually, you kind of have to shut down your business because you can't afford to continue operating, correct?
Yeah, or you just go more and more in debt and finally, until you're just so in debt that it's a problem. You have to go find another
in the
job.
non-tennis side of things, that would be a failed business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fair to call it like a failed business in tennis.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the average career high? Okay, career high. I'm not talking like career average. What's the career high singles ranking amongst the top 20 current doubles players?
I would have no clue. I know you have Ceballos who played some singles, Granulairs, they played some singles. I have no clue because then I know you have like some people like Mate Pavic. I think he had stopped around like 500 before he fully went into doubles. Who else is? I guess you have Jackson Withrow. I saw he's 19 in the world. So,
Yep.
but I don't know. I don't know to know everybody. I don't know.
It's about 420.
420. So that's the average career high of the top 20. So when we aggregate it together, their average career high, 420. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, that's average. Some guys did get, like Ceballos was, he got a ATP title in singles, right? Granulairs top 20, I think. Let me pull up the ATP ranking. But okay, so that's 400. So that's, you're a failed business right there.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. So they go play doubles because on the average they
failed in singles. Correct. Yeah. Math supports that.
Okay, so let's go. Henry Patton. I just pulled up the rankings here. Henry Patton. Actually, singles 460. Okay, so there's one
it's
guy.
Quite like you have like Jordan Thompson and Max Purcell in there.
Yeah. Let's go Nikola Mektic.
For the ones that did not have ranking points, I just put in like the as if they had a point, the lowest possible ranking point, which is like I think it's like 1,600.
Lloyd Glasspool, I'm going over his. And I'm just picking guys that I just don't know their singles. So 282. So because I know Max Purcell.
He's not personal, Matt. It's not
right.
I'm not negative. This is purely a mathematical discussion.
So this is math. So what would you say to somebody? Okay, so all right. So they failed at singles in a way to make money.
Correct.
Okay. Because we can make the argument, you're 250 in the world. You're still, you're 250 in any other business. Let's just say I go work in finance. I'm the 250th best wealth advisor in the world. I'm a multi-millionaire, right?
Yeah, so but I don't love that comparison. It's different market share.
Yeah, the market pays for whatever it wants, so it is what it is. But okay, so you're still pretty good at something you were doing, but then you go play doubles and you're getting at the math of it. So, but do you think there's value in? So let's just forget it. Okay, they're not great singles players. Let's just say I'll give you that. A lot of these guys were not great singles players. They go play doubles, but they're at tournaments. They provide some value to the fans that are going, right?
Somewhat. Look, the World Tour Finals went independent in 2003 in Houston. They did it once and once only. Any guess as to why it happened once?
Well, probably didn't make enough money.
Separate venue, separate time on the calendar. Obviously, the ATP would have marketed it. It's not like if they're hosting it and they're the ones fronting the money, they would obviously market it to the best of their ability. And this is when there's still like, like I would have probably never brought up this argument at the time when the Bryan brothers were on tour. They're like some of the best entertainment in tennis for sure. Like those guys are legends. But now it's different. I mean, it's like, it's hard. There's not, I don't know. Can you think of a team that has come close to replacing half of doubles was hanging on by a thread, and that thread was the Bryan brothers.
So now that they're gone, but do you think that there's value in having doubles at tournaments?
I do, but with more talent.
Okay. So how would you do that then? Right? Because what do you mean by more talent? Because obviously these guys, they're so-called double specialists. This is what they do for a living. So they're honing these skills all the time. So can you say that they're the best at what they do?
Not necessarily, no. Not necessarily. I mean, I think there's plenty of examples of you get Nick Kyrgios and Thanasi Kakanakis that won the Australian Open. It also kind of worked out where they were both healthy, and they also lost early enough in singles where they could really bring it to the doubles court. Where if Nick is in the quarters and Thanasi's in the third round playing 5 sets, could be banged up, they could kind of go through the motions one day to save themselves for singles, which happens a lot that people don't talk about all the time. Where you start to have a good week in dubs or in singles, and you have a dubs match and you can't account for playing 4 or 5 sets in singles, and it's like, all right, something flared up. I don't want to jeopardize the rest of my singles tournament. So yeah, you have an example of them. You have an example of Rinky Hijikata teamed up for the first time that year with someone, I can't remember who. Anyway, it's their first time playing together. They kind of walked through most of the draw.
So when singles players play, they can have a lot of success.
When singles players play and they can they don't have to get ready for the next tournament. And let's say there is no next tournament, and then also they're not still in that tournament.
So if we have more singles players playing, do you think that product would get better? It brings more value, more people in the stands than the way it is now.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I think that. And also, yeah. I mean, I think, and I also do think to the doubles players' credit, I do think there needs to be a rule change as well. And I think a lot of doubles players, a lot of very credible doubles players would agree with me. There either needs to be a kitchen, or there needs to be some sort of rule where the net player has to stand behind the service line until the server contacts the ball.
Because of the poaching and all that, points too quick, and
stand on top of the net and cut balls off. It's not, I don't know.
Is that what you think, a lot of times makes it more interesting when singles players play? Because now, most of the time, they don't serve and volley. So you have more kind of cross-court rallies, baseline rallies, and so you have longer rallies in general.
Yeah. Yeah. They can chase down more balls. They return better.
So is it more of a marketing issue? Because you're talking about, okay, you're saying doubles as is. So that means, is there a form of doubles that, now you're talking about singles players, if we improve the product, if we put better players on there.
Correct, yeah.
So what about the argument that, okay, maybe we have some doubles players that are beating singles players when they do play? For the example, the Bryans. You had teams like that, Grenadier, Ceballos, that are great singles players that now are doubles, so they can hang on against good singles players. So there are some players that could still make a living because they are that good at doubles,
Correct.
And some singles players they don't have the skills to actually translate to be that good in doubles. So is there a hybrid way to get more involved with all of them?
Well, so if you're looking to kind of problem solve here, I think let's take Evan King, for example, who's a phenomenal tennis player. I mean, no doubt about it. He never had a coach. Since I came on tour, he was 1 year out of college. He never had a coach, a physio. He just showed up and competed, and pretty darn good player. Can you can agree to that, right?
Yeah. I was sad when he stopped playing singles to play doubles because I thought he was going to do better in singles. But yeah.
Yeah, but he never had a coach.
Yeah, couldn't
You know
afford a
why?
coach.
He
Couldn't really afford training. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you give a guy like Evan King, who's a great athlete and a great tennis player, the financial capability of affording a coach, he could, without a doubt, become a top 100 player. Do you
Yeah, I
agree with
think
that?
that's a pretty good bet. I'd take
Yeah,
that bet. Yeah.
you take that bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he couldn't do it because he couldn't afford it. So if you look at the challenger level, or he just wasn't making enough prize money to rationalize, paying for a coach. But let's look at like the challengers, for example. Look at how much money it costs. It like a lot now with these plus H's as well. How much it costs the challengers to have doubles players there.
Yeah, I mean, because now they have to pay minimum 5 days of hotel, right? I think that's
Yep.
part of a rule, right? So
Yep.
you're automatically paying that, and then that means food on site. I mean, I don't know how much it costs, but food and drinks on site, balls,
Referees,
so
balls,
referees for those courts. So
yep.
absolutely,
Prize money, hotel, everything. It kills the challenger level like to an extreme because they're also not as able to attract as many sponsors and whatnot.
right?
But that destroys the challenger level. Where if Evan King, for example, was able to make semis of a 100K challenger and make like 20, 25K, he's probably going to make a couple of those a year. And he's going to also, with a coach, probably, every 2 years, I would say it's pretty likely for him every 8 slams. I'd say he qualify for 2 of them, maybe more.
So, but how are you getting Evan that money? Are you saying
Well,
to get rid of doubles and give him that money?
Yeah, at the challenger level, you completely get rid of doubles. Yeah.
Because I guess there's two parts to this, right? There's the immediate right now, but then there's also the part where you discuss it could be a structural and marketing issue to where maybe doubles does have a future. So there's the long term and the short term,
A
right?
structure issue, not I wouldn't say so much a marketing issue. I wouldn't say that. They had their chance at marketing in the World Tour Finals in 03 with a much better set of talent than there is now.
And they
Because the
just didn't
Bryan
have the
brothers were there.
personalities to back it up like the Bryans to keep it
The
going.
Bryans, yeah. I mean, Bryans were just unbelievable, and they're electric and fun and insanely athletic, insanely skilled. Bob, they're maybe one of the true like double specialist team. Like Bob definitely had a top 50 singles career ahead of him for sure. He
Yeah.
walked away from like,
Yeah, I remember him playing Agassi at the Open. I think
yeah.
he played Arthur Ashe late night. I'm pretty sure.
Bob's,
Pretty sure it was
I
him.
mean, so is Mike. They're absurd athletes. Like,
Yeah.
off the charts. Like fitness testing wise, you tested them in everything, like sprinting, jumping, spider drill, hand-eye, like reaction time. They would test better than most.
So, all right. Well, let's go here and then we'll go back to it. So, do you think there's a way that if they change the structure, the setup, the rules, whatever you want to call it, it's not our job to figure that out. We have some ideas. I would love to hear from doubles players who have been playing this every single day. But is there a way that in the future there's value where doubles, because this is where you come in. You talk about the business, you talk about the math, where they bring in net revenue that is worth them being there. It's because
doubles or doubles players.
However, because I don't think everyone should have the same opportunity.
The way I would solve it would be at the ATP. I would axe doubles at the challenger level, and then ATP 250s get crushed, and so do 500s by doubles. So I think that if you were to change how doubles format was in terms of the players that lose within the first 2 rounds of the tournament can then form a team based on those losers. You know what I mean? And then from that point, so let's say I lose first round and I don't know, like Cameron Norrie loses second round, Tommy loses second round, and Casper Ruud loses second round, and the tournament's still going on. We have a deadline, let's say come like Thursday at like 10 a.m. where I can go find a partner and say, all right, Casper, you in? And there's only like 8 teams or 4 teams or 6 teams with some buys, however that's going to work, or 12 teams with some buys, I don't know. And then that way you have a product you can put out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you just shrink the draw size, and then you have just 4 days of doubles, starting when it's the event's most attended anyway. You're not having to pay more to have more people in because they're already at the tournament. And you can keep the same amount of prize money because that would incentivize the first 2 round losers enough to want to stay, I think.
Well, I was going to say, you need to find a way to keep the incentive to be big enough to play there.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're cutting jobs from people, right? Because if you take away doubles, as is with doubles ranking entry.
I don't think you're necessarily cutting jobs because I think you would be able to create jobs on the opposite side of the single standpoint. I'm not looking to take food out of off anyone's plate. I just gave you an example of Evan King, who would be able to self-sustain his career a little bit longer and give himself a chance to have a coach and be able to maximize his career to his utmost ability. I think he's an unbelievable talent. I use him as an example because I think he's a great talent that, given some more resources, could have been a top 100 player.
Well, and I think this is where the question comes in is like, can you create more financially successful people by changing one part of your business where some people are going to get hurt, but then you become a more efficient operation on the other end, and now your company can actually thrive because you're not held back by an inefficient business model on one end that is only supported by the other end, right? There's plenty of businesses that, let's just take Procter and Gamble, just an overall, they have so many different products they own, right? And at times they'll buy out a company, take it in, try to invest in it, try to make it grow. But in the moment, it's being sustained by its other successful products at Procter and Gamble. But because they're trying to grow a different product within the business, it's taking capital expenditures away into a failing business that they hope to grow. Well, if you keep feeding that failing business, you can't put in money that is actually growing and make that part of the business grow. Correct. So at some point, which happens a lot in corporate America, because corporate America is not a charity, It's like, yes, we know that by letting this company go and selling it or closing it, yes, some people unfortunately are going to get fired and lose their jobs, and that's painful. But on the other end of it, we're going to provide more jobs for more people with more money. So on a net basis to the overall economy, they've actually done a better job of helping its people, right? So I think that's kind of the same thing that the discussion needs to be around with tennis, which is, I don't have these financials. Would be great if somebody at the ATP came out, but okay, is doubles holding back the true ATP growth, or right, so that more players playing ATP can make money, and both they're both the same thing, or you change your structure.
I don't know as much of the WTA structure, but I think it would apply to both. I think it would be similar. I mean,
probably
the WTA sold, I think 20%, was it 10 or 20% of their company to a private equity firm about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago?
Yep.
Is that about right?
Let's find out. I'm going to look it up right now while you keep going with your point.
Was it CVC?
Let's see. Yes, they sold in March 2013 with CVC Capital Partners for
2013, March
2023.
2023
for $150 million, a 20% stake in WTA Ventures. So yeah, they sold a portion of it.
Hold on, say that again. They sold CVC bought 20% stake of the WTA.
Yeah, something that they called the WTA Ventures, and
for $150 million.
$150 million.
So what valuation?
I need my Excel spreadsheet. I'm terrible with math. You're actually better with this valuation stuff than I am. So I'll go with. Do you know it off the top of your head?
Well, 150 times 5, right? So
yeah, so over $1 billion.
Yeah,
close. 8 million. 800 million. I'm the last person to ask for math.
It'd be less. Well, 200 million times. Yeah, no, it'd be
like B minus in math. So
okay, so for just under $1 billion, they sold. Okay, all right. Would you rather, have WTA's like pretty critical product to tennis? Coco Gauff might be the best ticket seller in the sport, or Osaka. Osaka's one of the highest paid athletes in the world, household name. Would you prefer like such an important product like that not have to sell 15% or 20% of its stake to a private equity firm that is going to look to, capitalize and maybe not make the best business decision for the sport, but more so for their financial well-being. Because a private equity firm, that model is, they'd like to move quick. So they want to sell that for a profit in 3 years. Do you think they're going to make decisions that would be best for the sport? Or do you think they're going to make decisions that are going to be best for their $150 million investment?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because if you ask anybody in the VC world and private investment world and all that, their whole thought is to create more efficient businesses so that they can make more money. But I think if anybody's read the book The Plunderers, then they know that a lot of times they make such short-sighted decisions that they make a lot of money on the short end, but in the long run, they actually can cause a lot of problems. So there's what they say, and there's what we've seen actually happen, to your point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think, it's an interesting subject.
Yeah, we can go down a rabbit hole with the inefficiencies of some private capital firms. So, I mean, I'm sure the WTA didn't want to sell it for 150 million if they were doing great, right?
Of course not.
They want to keep everything for themselves. I think the difference with the WTA that's also different, which is very interesting, is you have a lot more singles players playing doubles as well. Now, maybe it's because on some ends of tournaments, they make less money. And then also they play in slams only best of 3, so they can play more with that day off, right? So some of it they're kind of forced into, and some of it is also a little easier for them to play doubles. But we'll go.
Yeah, I mean, they've made some questionable decisions. Like I actually know nothing about their structure and what's going on. All I know is they have a ton of talent, and they can. Like I said, Coco is as big of a name as it gets, as big of a draw as it gets, as is Naomi. Sabalenka's becoming on that level. Swiatek's, probably like been the best player in the world on average the last like 5 years. Not, second now that Sabalenka's been super dominant, and Coco's obviously always in that discussion. So like, there's no lack of talent, but it's like frustrating. Again, I'm on the outside, so I don't know, but I watched the World Tour Finals in Mexico 2 years ago, and it was like, how's this happening? These are some unbelievable tennis players. They had no marketing behind it. It was like such a last-second decision. They never had a chance to sell. There was like a hurricane going on. People couldn't even fly in there to see it. And you have some of the best athletes in the world playing for a huge purse in an environment and in an atmosphere that they don't deserve. They deserve something much better. So,
well, and also to, with that, and you've seen this as you've gotten more in the startup world, you can have a great idea, but if you don't have great management, that idea that is so great can never flourish, and it just dies, right? So there's ideas, but then there's getting it done. And that's, I think where, would be interesting to find out, because if you ask a lot of people, and this is true, but then there's the idea of it, there's the fan side of it, there's the, tennis has been growing so fast in this country with its participation. All racket sports are growing since the COVID era. And if you actually look at the recreational side of things, you have more people that play doubles than actually play singles.
Sure.
Right? So then the question has always been, because you have more people playing doubles than singles, they actually like doubles more than singles. And your response to that would be what?
How come they don't watch? How come they don't show up? How come they don't buy tickets if they prefer to watch that? How come, why do whenever there is a doubles match played after a singles match where it's on the same ticket, why is it always empty most of the time? People love the cherry pick, by the way. They'll love to like send me a match of like 2 Brazilian guys playing in Brazil.
I saw
like,
that.
Yeah, of course. Like, all right, yeah, but let's just look at averages. Like, let's not cherry pick here.
Brazilians will sell out a chess tournament.
My favorite is when they're like, I don't know. They'll name like 2 singles legends. Like, they're like, oh, you don't respect them either? And I'm like, they're not doubles players. They have like 8 Grand Slams each in singles. They're not doubles players. Like, this is different.
Yeah, and I think, look, of course, there's certain places, there's certain regions where definitely, I think even me and you, we've seen it. We've seen some doubles turn, which is kind of funny. You know, we've seen certain places, like you said, that yes, they do fill up the stands. But we're talking about the aggregate of it. We've seen tournaments in Europe, challengers, doubles is just full. There's certain regions, certain parts that get full, and then when you add in anybody local, it's really full. Yes, there are definitely moments. I've seen you play doubles with Sinner, and this was before Sinner was Sinner. Remember Atlanta Open, and they put you on the side court, and you guys were playing. I think you were playing some doubles guys, right? That only played doubles at that point. I don't know if it was Marcelo Melo, who has won Grand Slams in doubles, and the stands were full. Now,
by the way, Yannick Sinner is the best doubles player in the world.
Yeah. I mean, Davis Cup's unbelievable.
No. Like it's not even close. Yannick Sinner is the best doubles player in the world. No one knows that. He doesn't play, but I'm not a great doubles player, and like we could barely lose games sometimes, and I wouldn't even make a return.
Yeah.
Because deciding point, and I just give it to him, and he hit a winner. Like it was a joke. I mean, it's pretty silly.
Well, and so yeah, we've seen those moments where people are there full, but then you I think you posted that photo or shared it. Was it Indian Wells, that doubles match?
Indian Wells semifinals.
Nobody there.
No one there. Yeah.
Right, and of course, yes. If you watch the Wimbledon doubles final, that they put on TV.
Yeah, I'm not the only big bad wolf here. Look at Craig Tiley said the same thing. I mean, if you read his interview that he did this year after the Australian Open, he was saying, obviously not as harsh as I was, and he's wording it much better and whatnot, but he's like pretty much saying a lot of similar things that I'm saying.
If we go back to the stands, like there's just most doubles matches do not put as many fans in the seats.
But especially at the challenger level, the ATP 250 level, and the ATP 500 level. If people think that I'm the only one that thinks this way, they're dead wrong. Go ask every tournament director. If you were to take a vote for every tournament director that has a 250 and a 500, if they would vote to totally restructure doubles in the way that I just proposed, versus where do you think I got that idea from, by the way? I got it from a former ATP 500 tournament director.
Yeah.
It wasn't my idea, to be honest.
They love tennis, but they love making money more, right? I mean, they're trying to make money.
It's not all about I mean, it somewhat is. It is all about. It's not all about money, and it is at the same time. If you want to have like a tournament where you can pay to have Rafa Nadal come, that's worth more than having an entire doubles tournament.
I want to get your thoughts on this, because this is really what kind of sparked it to like a next level in response. Rohan Bopana's comments, which, without directly going to you, I think it's fair to say it goes to you and anybody who thinks doubles shouldn't exist. Now, we'll say this first. You're saying doubles as is, so you're saying that there is a potential way that it can work in a certain format. Now, we're not here to discuss those formats.
The format that I explained.
Right, the format you explained. So there's a way that for doubles to exist. So, but his comments...
doubles played by singles players, correct.
Doubles played by singles players, giving them the right amount of incentives to stay at tournaments to play doubles.
Yeah, you could even... Yeah.
Okay, so I won't say the whole thing because it's a little bit long, but the most important parts where... For everyone dismissing doubles tennis, understand this. Playing doubles and earning an income from it has given me the power to give back in ways that truly matter. It has helped underprivileged children discover the sport, provided education for over 30 girls, and built an academy that nurtures future champions. And let me tell you, those benefiting from these opportunities don't care whether the support comes from singles or doubles earnings. What matters is that it's changing lives. It's probably the most important part to it.
Yeah, of course.
What are your thoughts on that first?
I love Bops. I think it's unbelievable. My thought is the same as everyone else's thought on that. Like, what's there not to love about that? Not to love about that, and not to love about Popana. He's a class act. He's one of the best guys. They ever find on tour. Yeah. You can't find anything bad to say about Popana. He's a legend, and what he's done for his community is unmatched. Totally agree. Future Hall of Famer.
But
Done it in the sport.
but what about those things? Because if you get rid of doubles, then you get rid of his opportunity now, or people like him in the future to do that.
Number one in the world in doubles. Imagine he's a pretty darn good tennis player.
So he'd find a way to be successful.
He could for sure. Yeah, I never played him. I never played him. I've never really seen him play. I've never, he was before my time, let's say. But yeah, I'm sure he could have been highly successful in anything.
If you look at his singles ranking career high 213,
and I could make the same argument that Evan King made it into the top 50 and it's from Chicago. I could make the same argument that Evan King would have been able to have the resources to build an academy in Chicago and inspire the youth to play. I could make that argument the other way as well. I mean, not that it's about that, but
your argument would be if Opelka had the financial resources from the beginning from playing singles, he could have traveled with a coach from a much earlier age, been able to improve his skill set much better there, and continue playing singles and probably have a successful career. And there's a good chance that the reason he couldn't break more than 200 was it's just so expensive to make it. He couldn't afford to have the resources he needed. Doubles, different structure, different skill set. There's not as much competition until you get up to the top. So it was a little bit easier for him to make the money there. But he probably would have had to go that route if there was more money at the singles level because, and we've discussed it in the past, where no one starts off only playing doubles. Very, like 99% of guys start playing singles. No, they play doubles to make money.
You've come through the junior tennis circuit just like I have. You played junior tournaments since you were 9 years old, correct?
Yeah.
Younger? Yeah. I did. I mean, I was talking to a bunch of my peers about this. Like, have you ever heard a 9-year-old say, my dream is to be the number one doubles player in the world?
Yeah.
You have?
No, I haven't.
I mean, it's harsh. It's harsh. I get it. Like, all right. So originally it started with, this whole thing came about. You've known me. I've been saying this since we've been working together. I was saying this when I was 250 in the world playing challengers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this so it makes as much sense.
I'll give you a second to think, and I think what's important with everything you're saying is that this is not a personal attack on doubles players, and this is not an attack on people like Opelka who have done amazing things for their community.
It's not an attack on Opelka, but it is a bit of a.
It's the system. It's the business model.
This came out because, look, the U.S. Open came out. This all started because the U.S. Open made their post announcing their changes to doubles, to mixed doubles. Sorry. Okay. I think it's a great change because they are just experimenting with changing the structure of it somehow. From a player standpoint, at the same time, what they did was pretty crazy in the sense of it's now like a 21-day tournament with there not being a big increase in pay. They already added a 15th day, which there should be like a 7 or 8% increase in revenue, you would think, just by adding that extra day, and there's not. No one had a say in this. This goes to a bigger problem in tennis, like, of players just getting tooled around however we want with no say in anything. Okay, that's a separate argument. But that being said, what they're doing, I personally think is a great idea. And, I think it started with I think Tennis Channel posted something and a bunch of players, like, I don't know, some players, doubles players, I guess, where it showed some of their posts where they were like, pretty upset about it. And there's, I think the headline was, it's becoming an exhibition. And I just said, wasn't it always an exhibition?
Well,
it never had any implication towards their actual doubles ranking, their singles ranking. There's no points on the line. It's always been an exhibition. So
and you see who they give the wild cards out to. They'll give it out to anybody. Juniors. It's just never been an event that from top to bottom. Yes, some doubles guys are there, and girls as well too. make that extra money because they take doubles seriously. But a lot of times you find some random pairings, right? Some random
Yeah,
wild cards.
correct. So I'm for the change of at least what they're doing. How they went about it, different story. Like that's a totally this is definitely why we need a players union, but that is I was for that change. So when I countered that, a bunch of doubles players got all upset, and so I'm just said like, but it's true. It always was an exhibition. I wasn't wrong, and then a bunch of players got like super upset, like doubles players I'd never heard of, to be honest, and they were just like, oh, like this guy would be homeless on the side of the street if he wasn't 7 foot tall. I'm like, yeah, buddy, I heard that my whole life. Like, by the way, yeah, I think that's pretty funny, and I just found it greedy. I thought it was a little bit greedy that they were ripping the U.S. Open, essentially biting the hand that feeds them into biting the hand that feeds when they're just looking out for the tournament. And if it doesn't sell and no one pays attention and it is an exhibition, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a bit greedy. There's zero revenue that goes into mixed doubles. That is not for debate. No one can form an argument that says that mixed doubles has a ton of revenue or any at all. Like, it's pretty much close to zero. So imagine being a person that has no revenue and asking for more or asking for anything is kind of greedy.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. Well, and I think I have a couple of thoughts, right? Well, first, the tours are trying to figure out how to make it work. And we talked about that. Like, I think we both agree there is a format that works. Like, we believe that something can be done. Now, just like any startup, any new business, any new idea, you might try something and it might not work. And that's okay as long as you just learn from it and then try something different and then try something different. Like,
look at Zara or look at like Snapple. Look at what the Snapple model was that is now like known as the Zara model. They produce a ton of things, and they want the things that sell and the things that work, they just produce more of and then give those more shelf space. It's no different.
Yeah.
So they have to try a new flavor. They have to put a new flavor of Snapple on the shelf, or a new piece of clothing on the shelf, and if that sells, then they will put more money into that product that's already working.
Well, and a great, because we talk about the business side of it. I think one of the most famous ones is, do you remember the company Kodak that used to be in like the film photography?
Yeah.
So they went bankrupt in 2012.
Yeah.
And so they had to transition into several new industries, and now they're extremely profitable. So yes, when they went bankrupt, I mean, they were trying to force a part of their business for so long, but then it went bankrupt, and all these people ended up losing their jobs for it. Because there wasn't another part of the business that could keep it afloat. Then when they finally decided to reinvent themselves, they went into a more profitable side of the business. So yes, unfortunately, and it is terrible for those families that lost their jobs at Kodak, and because they don't have the skill set into these new industries that they went into. So new people had to come in, but now they're flourishing. And so they provided more money for people in the economy. The economy flourishes, then it trickles down. I think it's the same thing here. Like, look, no one wants to say that no one wants to say that these doubles players don't deserve to make a living and put food on their table. We don't, like, yes, it would suck if doubles was cut today for all those people. That's awful, because then they're going to have to find a way to make a living. Our thought is 20, 30 years from now. Okay, where does the ATP Tour go? Where does the WTA Tour go? How can they provide more financial resources, more success stories? Is there a way to do it? What we're saying is there's a good chance that, yes, if we reconfigure how doubles is into something else, the tours can be more efficient and provide more money to more players, where more people can make money playing tennis.
Correct.
That's all we're trying to say. And I think, look, I have friends that play doubles, and they're amazing people. This is not about them. It's just about the way things are structured. It's business, not personal. I can understand if somebody.
My original comments was purely about that, and then a couple guys wanted to make it personal, and then I made it a little bit personal. That's
you do that from time to time, right? So,
but the reality of it is harsh. I get it. Like, the fact, I still stand by that. There's no such thing as a double specialist. Like you said, you've never met a junior player that's ever said, I want to be a double specialist, ever. And the math that I just showed you, the average ranking of the average career high, not their average like career singles ranking, their career high, the very peak of their career of the ATP top 20, is the ATP doubles top 20. Their career high in singles on average is 420 in the world. That's, whatever. The math supports that. Sorry. Yeah. You can put those numbers into whatever, your chat GPT or whatever AI you want and run through it yourself. I mean, it's like, it is what it is. I mean, it's not chat GPT's fault. It's just math.
So I think there's probably one more statement I'd love to just get your thoughts on. So, a lot of people talk about the history of the sport and all of that, and that's why doubles should stay as is. Thoughts on that?
Okay, you're a tennis fan, right?
Yeah, love it.
Like, eat, sleep, and breathe tennis?
Yeah, sometimes a little too much, but yeah.
Yeah. You've been on tour for a while?
Yeah.
Travel with me. We went to all the tournaments, all the slams. We've hit with every player, played singles, doubles. We've done it all.
Okay, my dad played pro. I mean, tennis has been a part of my family since I was born.
And if you're on court if you're coaching at 12 p.m. and Yannick Sinner's playing Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinals of French Open, and it starts at 1 p.m. or 11 a.m. let's say, or in Australia, let's say they're playing in the semis of the Australian Open. What, you gonna set your alarm to watch?
I'm gonna do everything I can to try to be there to watch. Yeah.
Okay. Who won Wimbledon last year?
I know because I watched. But in all honesty, it's because I love Max and Jordan, and that's why I was watching.
No, I was asking like singles.
Singles.
Yeah.
So yeah, singles. God, I'm so stuck on doubles. Singles was now I'm blanking.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Djokovic, Alcaraz, right? Alcaraz beat Djokovic as a Djokovic coming back from injury, straight sets. Yeah.
Yep. Who won the French Open?
Alcaraz, right?
He did. That's correct. Who won the Australian Open? Not this
Sinner.
year.
Yeah. No, Sinner. Yeah.
Yep. Correct.
Yep.
Correct. And do you know who won the U.S. Open?
The previous one?
Yep. 2024 U.S. Open.
Ooh. Going back, wasn't Djokovic. He lost. Nope. Sinner. Yeah, beat Fritz in the final.
Correct. So you remember who won and you remember who they played in the final. You remember
I just need a second, but yeah.
Who won the Australian Open in doubles?
Oh, yeah. Actually, was it Max? Did Max and Jordan win it? Oh, no, that's not this year because Max couldn't play. I have no idea who won it this year.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know who they played in the final.
Who won French Open in doubles last year?
I don't think Marcelo Arevalo won that this year, right? I know he won it and again, a personal connection there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I don't watch doubles, but
yeah. I know the doubles was Haliovara and Henry Patton because that was a big story, English guy winning Wimbledon. But
I remember that.
I was watching Max and Jordan because I really wanted them to win it. No offense, Henry.
But who won mixed doubles at the U.S. Open last year?
All I know is Taylor and Donald lost in the final. And again, that's a personal connection to both, so that's why I was following that story.
I don't know who they lost. Who won mixed doubles at Wimbledon?
No clue.
Mixed doubles U.S. Open?
No clue.
Mixed doubles Australian Open?
No clue.
Mixed doubles this past Australian Open?
No clue.
Can you name one mixed doubles pair at this year's Australian Open?
Oh,
off the top of your head. Just one team. Name one team that played at the Australian Open in mixed doubles a month ago. 4 weeks ago. Name one team, not the winner, just one team.
No, I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest. I got a kid, I got work. I can only watch so much tennis, so I'm gonna watch singles. Like that's kind of how it is. That's what I want to see. And doubles guys. I like doubles when certain people play, but the problem is a lot of times, one, again, some of these guys are my friends, so I just like to watch my friends. But two, the problem with doubles, you talked about the kitchen and all that stuff, is it's just sometimes it's serve done, serve first volley, serve first volley, serve first volley, done, 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 done. You just don't see a lot. So I'm like, why am I going to stay up late, not watching a lot of tennis? Like, I'd rather watch the grind, the battle, the rallies, the side to side. Yes, I will say in doubles, I was commentating the Intense League, and they had some doubles points that the hands at the net were just insane. We've seen those. We all know those highlight points, but it's kind of like one every 15 minutes,
Yep.
And yeah, it does create what you would think is like the point of the year. Sometimes some of those reflexes are insane. But like, I can't, I'm not going to waste my time waiting that. Like, I'd rather watch a whole singles match where I get more to watch, more rallies, more stuff going on. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where all this kind of came from. Like, I just made a comment about it being an exhibition. A bunch of people got mad, like super mad, clapped at me, clapped back, had math that supported it, made a bunch of people angry. Like, whatever, all good. I'm chilling. I mean, I just stated an opinion, and a lot of it was factual.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's more angry people DMing me than there were at the Indian Wells semifinal. So you guys are so angry, man. Go buy a ticket and go watch. Like, send me like death threats or slap threats. I got a lot of slap threats, a lot of Dubs slap or a lot of not from Dubs players, but I'm saying like fans or I don't know what they are, but yeah, big doubles fans. They said I need to get slapped. Like, okay, go ahead.
Well, and I think
go buy a ticket, buddy. Indian Wells semifinal had 19 people in the stands. And it's funny, like, also, it's a bit like people are now covering. It's like, oh, maybe they don't get as much marketing. Like, this is what they're posting on Instagram. It's like, these are people that have tennis social media channels that cover tennis. And like the one, their biggest coverage of what they're covering on doubles is my comment about mixed doubles being an exhibition and them getting all mad. It's like, okay, like you're kind of proving my point a little bit right now. Like,
well, and I think, look, that's why you came on here, because one, you don't like spending too much time on social media. So whatever you do go is hitting out, quicken out. And, we're doing this because we've had long form conversations about this, thoughtful conversations. And that's why it's like, you know what? This is better in a longer form conversation where we can go back and forth. You can't do that on social media, and that's the hard part. You would spend 17 million hours commenting on everyone with your thoughtful response and typing it, and no one's going to do that. And I think the important thing is that, yes, we understand that it sounds bad, but this is just business. It's not personal. We all think like Bopana, unbelievable human beings. So many of these doubles players are probably unbelievable human beings.
Yeah,
we don't want to take away from that.
I love Evan King. I love Christian Harrison. Rob Galloway. Like
Marcelo Arevalo is an awesome guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, and you've even played doubles at some tournaments with them.
Arevalo was 130 in the world. Again, like no coach, barely a physio, got a big serve, big forehand, competes his ass off. What happens if you give him a coach? What happens if him at 130 without doubles at the 250 and the challenger level? I guarantee if he sustains that, he would be probably a bit happier with the format that I'm proposing. I think he would be a little bit better off in that format. He's a really good player without any resources either, man. Like I said, like I really respect that guy, but imagine him. There's no doubt he would be able to win tons of doubles tournaments too if that new format were into play. If he loses within the first couple rounds of a ATP 250 and sticks around, he could easily win that tournament in doubles, make a ton of money.
Yeah, and that's all we're trying to just come across. Like, we think a lot of these players maybe would have had a better chance if they were playing, singles with more money, and maybe could have had better singles career and wouldn't have been forced to play doubles.
This is how the sport grows, and this is how you prevent massive stakes of your company having to be purchased by either Saudi or by CVC.
Yeah. And it's from a business side of it, not a personal side. And I
Yeah,
think,
and when people say the business, it's just not all about business, and sometimes, but guess what? Like, it kind of is, because you just saw a great product of some of the best athletes in the world in Pegula, Goff, Sabalenka, Osaka. Not last year in the previous World Tour Finals in Mexico, where they played in a legit hurricane. It was like 25-mile-per-hour wind, brutal conditions, and then there was no way fans would even want to go because they just get like poured on. They didn't have any chance to market it. They had no. But these are just, I'm just giving you some examples of like what more resources would do. More resources would avoid some of the best athletes in the world playing on the what would be their biggest stage in Acapulco, Mexico. Or I think it was Acapulco. I don't know. In Acapulco in December. It's like,
and they had to bounce around like multiple countries, right? You know, they were
it's the
in
craziest.
Europe, having to go back, or Asia, and then having to go back. It was crazy. I mean,
It's the craziest thing ever. And if you make decisions purely based off money, you're in trouble. Like, that's why the ATP's always played, for example, their World Tour Finals in London and in Turin, because that's a huge, the European market for tennis is humongous.
yeah.
So they obviously could have taken a bigger paycheck to play the World Tour Finals in other cities. They choose there because it's a big stage and it's a great way to showcase the sport.
Yeah.
Not in Acapulco in December during a hurricane. That's like what's frustrating. You only have like you can't monetize talent, and you only have a short time frame to really like push the sport and give it the platform and the stage it needs. Like, how many people are going to be playing tennis in Europe because of Yannick and Carlos, and then how many people are going to be picking up rackets in the States because of Coco and Sabalenka?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yep.
So, I mean, it is looking out for the greater good of the sport. Obviously, I can't explain all this on some comments on Instagram, and a bunch of salty people that aren't really like aren't even going to see the math or the other side of the conversation. But yeah, I mean, that was my point. And,
well, yeah, man, look, I appreciate you coming on here and just providing some more context behind your thoughts and everything, because it did become a pretty big topic, but hopefully this provides some clarity on where you're coming from. And, you're looking out for the good of the sport over the long term. And that's all it is.
Yeah. Then the other thing too is like, these are opinions. Like, some of my opinions are definitely mathematically and factually correct, but doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just this is purely an opinion. And like, yeah, the Friedrich Kuhnau has a great text in a painting that I love. It says, "Don't follow me, I'm lost." And
Yeah,
that's the advice. But obviously I'm somewhat joking, but I'm not trying to be contrarian. This is not a contrarian stance. I've given you some mathematical support and evidence where you can see it's not as crazy as it originally sounds. If you really think into it and you really picture what a tour would look like, with certain turns without it, and then certain turns having it within the new format that I proposed, you could easily see where it wouldn't take that much food off the table from any of those guys.
I guess my final question here would be, if somebody provided math that went against what you're saying, and somehow, I don't know it because I haven't spent any time thinking about it, but I'm sure there's somebody at the tour level or some doubles players that are really deep into this. If somebody provided the math that says the way doubles is structured now provides the most amount of jobs, I don't know what it is, but would you be open to that? And then coming out and saying like, okay, this math makes more sense. And
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't argue with math, man. I mean, it's really hard to argue with math and facts. It just is.
Yep.
And the other thing, like, if you go ask every tournament director, 250s and 500s, if they had the option to have doubles in their tournament or not, I can tell you what 99% of them would say.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I would love to get a tournament director on one day That would be willing and open as you are to just discuss not just
Well,
this, a lot of things.
you would need a former tournament director.
Former one. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody who knows it, but isn't like vested in it right now that could talk honestly.
Yeah. You know who would be a good one? Miguel Nito.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be good.
Miguel's been around tennis for a long time. Smart guy.
Yeah.
I would actually want to talk to him about it. Yeah. It's funny. Like, it's definitely got a lot of support. More than you think. Don't want to name names. Don't want to get other pros in trouble, but a lot of singles guys don't disagree with me.
Well,
if there's
any other former tournament directors that want to jump on and provide some more context because they know the exact numbers through and through, would love to have you guys on. But between now and then, I'd say thanks for coming on to provide some more context behind your thoughts. And
of course,
hopefully this helps people understand your position a little bit better. And on a personal standpoint, just because I've met him, like Bopana, Krajicek, we saw the guys, your posts. We love you guys. We know you're amazing.
An unbelievable player, man.
He's was top 100. He was top 100 playing. I remember watching him playing at Shikoria at the Australian Open. So this is not a personal thing. We're just it's a business thing. But we're open to math that changes our minds. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Gene.
Yeah, man.
See ya.